Hey guys, oops, let me turn down the volume first. Right. Hey guys, welcome to Windshine Audio. I'm Alvin, founder of the company based in Singapore. This is the second part of the video for this Lumin U2 Mini follow-up. I have the Lumin U2 Mini set up on my desk together with Dynaflip's Venus 2 DAC. It was playing some music from Tidal, and I'm using an iPad Air to control the interface. The setup is connected to a pair of Genelec loudspeaker, the active loudspeaker from Genelec. I think it is 8020D, the model, if I get it correctly. I purchased this pair of loudspeaker for my desktop usage purpose, and it's connected directly to the DAC output of this Venus 2. Yes, I did not use preamp in this case. Before I go into that, let us look at this Lumin U2 Mini. Okay, let me keep this iPad safely aside. Okay, this is the Lumin U2 Mini. I got this probably 4 to 5 weeks ago. Just to get you up to speed, we have this project, we call it Streamer X Dynaflip's DAC project, where we purchased the popular streamer on the market. The U2 Mini was one of them, and there are some other streamer that we purchased, like the i5 ZenStream, the Bluesound Note, and some other streamer like the Volumio. Volumio is over here. There's another Volumio integrated, so we won't be covering that. So it's an initiative that we buy several popular streamers on the market and test them with Dynaflip's DAC. The idea is not to really tell you whether this streamer sounds better than the other, but it's more of the compatibility of the streamer with Dynaflip's DAC, whether you should use coaxial output, USB output. In the case of U2 Mini, it comes with AES EBO output or the BNC output, and what are the parameters that you can adjust on the streamer itself to make it works better with Dynaflip's DAC, the deck that we sell. So it's always difficult for us to tell you whether this streamer sounds better than the other or not, or whether this will work better in your system. In our opinion, the quality of the streamer, there are two parts. The first one is the build quality, of course, whether it comes with the interface that you like. The interface means the software application, like on the iPad, or is it on an Android phone, whether you like the software or not. And the other part is whether it is user-friendly, whether it is reliable, whether it works every time you power up the streamer. For the case of U2 Mini, we are pretty happy with its performance. Performance in terms of, like what we said just now, it is reliable. It works every time we power it up. It streams music right away as we use the Lumin app. Second, the software of Lumin is really good. It is responsive, it is intuitive. It doesn't have the kind of lag that we have had experience with the rest of the other streamer. Okay, let me power off this Lumin U2 and show you around this guy. I think I can safely turn it off. No, I should turn off the deck first. Okay, the deck is off, or rather in standby, and let me find the switch to turn off the guy. Okay, it is off. Let me unplug the cables at the back. Whoops, this is going to be difficult. The AES EBU is stuck. Oops. I'm using the AES EBU connection from the Lumin U2 to the Venus 2 DAC. Okay, this is the Lumin U2. It is quite substantial, I would say. I think it weighs about 3 to 4 kilograms. It is very nicely built unit with aluminium front panel, and the chassis, I believe it is in aluminium, anodized aluminium as well, but it is stamped in this shape where the thickness is about 2 mm, Overall, the build quality is good. The connector at the back, as you can see, is of very high quality. It comes with IEC power inlet, where you can connect the power cord to this power inlet here to power on this Lumin U2 Mini. Ethernet connection, yes, you will need to have hardwire Ethernet connection to connect to this U2 Mini. And I think there's no Wi-Fi, so if you were to use the U2 Mini in the setup, you need to have an Ethernet connection. Some other connection that you can see here, two USB connector. One is for USB audio, the other one can be used as a storage. Or I learned it recently, where a customer purchased an optional remote control where you can plug in an infrared receiver to the USB port and use the remote control. I think it is sold separately by Lumin to control the volume of the U2 Mini. Coaxial output, optical output, BNC output, and not so commonly found on the streamer, AES EBO output. So this AES EBO output are balanced SPDIF signal. So I think I read somewhere that the AES EBO output is of high quality. So in my use case, I usually use the AES EBO output. And come with 4 filters. Right. Before I forget, this unit comes with an internal power supply. It is a switch mode power supply, where you may have seen some of the article online where customer or the users modify the switch mode power supply with an internal, I wouldn't say linear power supply. Remove the internal switch mode power supply and replace it with a socket, where the DC socket will be found at this position here, where you can connect an external DC power supply to power up the Lumin U2 Mini. External power supply like this. This is the one from LHY Audio. So this linear power supply output 12 volt DC. So it can be used to power up the Lumin U2 Mini if you modify the unit to accept DC voltage. I'll cover that in another video. Yes, I plan to do that. So I'll be removing the switch mode power supply in the U2 Mini and replace it with a module where you can connect DC socket or the DC power to this DC socket after the modification. So I will cover that in another video. But in my opinion, even with the switch mode power supply built in, the sound quality is quite good. Setting up is pretty simple. Just remember, you need to have Ethernet connection. Connect the Ethernet connection to the back of the unit. The design is sort of a bit funny. This little cover here is protruding out of the unit, so the access of the connection at the back is a bit recessed. You need to find the connection correctly. Quite weirdly, I would say. Okay, you can use AES EBO connection. You may also use USB connection, the optical connection, or the BNC connection. So I have all this cable here just to show you guys what are the cables that you can connect, but I wouldn't be connecting them because in one of my note video, I said that I did connect the USB cable and the coaxial cable, and some of the YouTube comment user asked me why is it they need two connection. In reality, is you may connect either one of the USB, coaxial, AES EBO or optical connection. Just choose the right interface to use with the DAC will do. Okay, I'll connect this AES EBO connection to the U2 Mini, and the other end is already connected to the Venus 2 DAC. The Venus 2 DAC will receive the signal from U2 Mini over AES EBO, and the output of the Venus 2 will be connected to this pair of Genelec active loudspeaker without a preamp. I think people buy Lumin product is really because of the volume control. I think Lumin called it ledge volume processing, where it somehow guarantee the details, the resolution, and the dynamic of this volume control is of high quality. We did try that. Yes, it is very nice. Unlike the usual digital volume control that I have experienced with the very basic one, the Windows operating system volume control, where it is not good. The Mac computer volume control is not good as well. Some other software volume control is not good as well. What do I mean by good? Usually when digital volume control involved, you will hear compression, you will hear less details because of the loss of resolution, and you will hear the music doesn't sound as dynamic. So you're losing quite a fair bit of dynamic and resolution as well as details. But with the Lumin U2 Mini Leech volume control, it is very nice. And there are some safety functions built into this volume control where you can set the maximum output of the volume just in case you slide the slider too fast and it outputs 100% volume to the loudspeaker, and the excessive volume may damage the loudspeaker. So this safety setting is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice touch, and I like it quite a lot. Right, let me turn on this guy. Just flip the switch at the back and we'll have the unit turn on. It takes a while, so it comes with a small OLED screen on top or on the front panel. So it tells you that it is starting out. Once it is start out and Ethernet connection is connected, it should display some of the track information that it was playing just now. Catch here. If you use the digital volume control without a preamp, turning on the equipment has to be in a certain procedure. My recommendation is to turn on the streamer. After that, turn on the DAC. Wait for a while before you turn on the power amp or the active loudspeaker. Otherwise, if you did not follow this turning equipment power up sequence, let's say for example, you turn on the power amp first, then you turn on the power amp is already standing by to receive signal, and at this point in time, you turn on the DAC, and the DAC may send a small surge or impulse or DC offset to the power amp. The power amp will process this signal. It will either go into protection mode or it will send the loud pop or click to the loudspeaker. You do not want to hear this. I can demo this to you, but I do not want to damage my loudspeaker. So I always recommend, if you do not use a preamp in the system, please follow this rule. In fact, turning on sequence has to be followed through for pre and power setup. For integrated amp, I think is fine. Most of the integrated amp has volume control where you can turn down the volume before turning on the upstream equipment. But my habit of turning on equipment has always been the streamer, followed by the DAC, the preamp or power amp, or the integrated amp. The turning off sequence will always be the reverse of this. Turn off the power amp first, followed by preamp, DAC, and the streamer. Okay, enough said. Okay, the unit is on. You may use the smartphone, download the Lumin app, and control this streamer. Or you may use a bigger screen like this, an iPad, to control the unit. Hang on a second, let me turn on the app. So like I say, it works every time I turn it on. The app will detect the Lumin streamer and it will show you your favorite track. If you are connected to Tidal, like I am, it will show you what are the Tidal track available. If you are connected to your NAS or even the drive connected to this USB port at the back, it will also display the track available. So it's a pretty nice and responsive app altogether. I think it is really because the processor of this Lumin U2 is faster than the i5 Zen Stream. Alright, I have the volume control enable. I have the volume safety wizard set out as well. Let me just read the name correctly. I do not want to give you a wrong name. It says maximum volume. So you can set up this maximum volume by using this parameter setting here to limit the maximum output of the digital signal sending to the DAC. So with this limit, even though the volume slider here at maximum volume, the loudness will not be too excessive it will not damage the loudspeaker. And I have to really say this again, the volume control is pretty well done. I do not hear loss of details or resolution or dynamic. And if and only if the DAC and the Lumin is your only source, you may not need a preamp in this case. So, but if you have some other equipment that you require volume control, for example, of a CD player connected to the DAC, most of the CD player do not have digital volume control. In this case, please remember to use a preamp. Otherwise, the DAC is going to output maximum volume when it is connected to some other digital source, and it's going to damage the loudspeaker. So please remember this. But if Lumin U2 is your only source and the DAC is your only source connected to the power end or the active loudspeaker, the digital volume control is pretty nicely done. Let me play my favorite track, this one. I hope it works. It should. Yeah, let me turn up the volume. I'm sorry, the DAC is in standby mode. I need to turn it on. Let me be sure that the volume is not excessive loud. Let me turn on the unit and it should work right away. So things I like about Lumin is really because the reliability, the responsive app, the user friendliness, and the sound quality. I think it sounds pretty good, and it works every time I power it up. You don't want to go into troubleshooting mode when you want to use a streamer. Whether is it the internet connection is not good, whether it's the app, or whether the processor is lagging, stuff like that. Okay, the next thing I want to touch on is I get asked quite frequently. I already have the U2 Mini or the U1 Mini, for that matter. Do I still need a DDC like the Iris or the Hermes or the Gaia DDC? In my opinion, the output quality of streamer at this level is already of very high quality. Adding the DDC in this case may have subtle differences. Whether you can appreciate the difference of adding the DDC or not, it really depends on how attentive you listen to the music and how revealing and your system is. Whether the system is revealing enough, high resolution enough to hear the difference when you add the DDC. But in my opinion, the quality of the digital output quality of the U2 Mini or the U1 Mini for that matter is already very high. Connecting the digital signal to the high quality DAC like the Venus 2, in this case you may not need the DDC. For my use case, I use the DDC with my computer, my MacBook Pro. I use the DDC for Note, for iFi, but I wouldn't be using them with the Lumin U2 and the streamer at this price range. So it's really how you want to build your system, and with the U2 Mini, the quality is already very good. I wouldn't recommend the addition of the DDC. Plus, you have the nice volume control here. You have different choices of digital output on the U2 Mini. By adding the DDC, it's really maybe if you want to try the I2S connection. The U2 Mini doesn't have I2S output, so if you have the crave to try the I2S connection, adding a DDC can be a fun part. But whether will it improve the sound quality or not, like I said before, it really depends on how attentive you listen to the music and how revealing your system is. We do have customers with who use Terminator DAC or the Terminator Plus DAC, and they added the DDC clock synchronization with the Terminator DAC plus the Lumin streamer. It works pretty well, and they are pretty happy with the sound quality. So I hope this video gives you an idea of what we think about the Lumin U2 Mini. If you have not done so, do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.